Well, right around that time in 2016, the movie War Dogs was released.
Yes.
Did they work with you on that movie?
Yeah, so they wanted to advertise it as based on a true story. So they wanted at least to have some of the people involved cooperating with them. So they bought my life rights, they call it, and gave me a bit of money. You know, not nearly as much as Miles Teller, the guy pretending to be me, got. I'll tell you that. He got a lot more money pretending to be me than I got for being me.
Yeah,
but that's Hollywood. That's Hollywood.
Yeah.
And the screenwriter Stephen Chin flew into Miami and like spent about a week with me, interviewed me. I told him all the stories, showed him all the emails, all that stuff. He recorded everything and based the first version of the screenplay on his interviews with me. So that was my involvement. They also had me do a very short cameo in the movie. I'm playing guitar and singing in the scene where Miles Teller, playing me, is selling bed sheets in a nursing home. So I'm the guy playing guitar and singing in that scene. So I have about 3 seconds of screen time. So I'm officially SAG-AFTRA. I'm part of the Screen Actors Guild because of that 3 seconds.
Well, was Efraim involved in making the film?
He was not. So he was actually in prison while they were filming.
Oh.
And they didn't want him to be involved anyway because he's a well-known pathological liar and a very difficult person to work with in general. So they didn't want him involved, and they didn't need him. Yeah.
When the movie came out, what'd you think?
I actually thought it was very, very good. Now, I may be a little biased.
A little bit.
A little bit. But to be honest, when I first heard... So the director of War Dogs, before he made War Dogs, he made the Hangover movies.
Right.
And I thought that he was going to make another movie like the Hangover movies, where I would like wake up, from a drug-induced haze next to a tiger in Vegas or whatever. And I was like, oh my God, he's going to make me look like a total idiot. And so I thought that was going to be like that kind of movie, but he used War Dogs to kind of go from like comedy to drama. After War Dogs, he made Joker. So like War Dogs was his... ironically, Joker is not very funny. It's very dramatic. Not many jokes in Joker. But he used War Dogs as like a transition movie from comedy to drama. So they call War Dogs a dramedy, right? It's like a kind of half comedy, half drama. So I thought it was a good balance, and it was a really well done movie. I was actually very happy with how they did it. I mean, they gave me a full head of hair in the movie. Well, I have no complaints.
Well, yeah, I mean, the cover kind of... It's almost an homage to the Scarface cover.
Yes. So they did that on purpose because in the movie they have Efraim being a big fan of Scarface. In real life, he wasn't really. He was actually a big fan of Lord of War with Nicolas Cage. But in fact, for his birthday, I bought him a big poster of Nicolas Cage in Lord of War, the one where he's like made out of ammunition. His face is made out of ammo. And he put that up behind his desk in his office. But Todd Phillips, the director of Hangover, and War Dogs, he didn't want to reference Lord of War in the movie because it was too close to War Dogs. So he decided to change it to Scarface being the reference, and because that's more of like a classic gangster movie, and so that's why he used that as a reference.
Well, Efraim actually sued the movie?
Yeah, he sued Warner Brothers, yeah.
How'd that go?
So he claimed that they stole his story from... So while he was in prison, he wrote a book called Once a Gun Runner, based on the line that he said right before the undercover ATF agent arrested him. Once a gun runner, always a gun runner. So he wrote a book, like a memoir in prison. I actually met his ghostwriter, a guy named Matt Cox. Matt Cox now has a pretty popular podcast called Inside True Crime.
I've interviewed Matt Cox before.
Oh, you have? Oh, okay, cool. So you know Matt.
Yeah.
So
Matt was what was his thing? A counterfeiter?
Yeah, he was a mortgage fraudster.
Mortgage fraud. Okay, there we go.
He did mortgage fraud.
Yeah, he did mortgage fraud.
Yeah. So Matt, as you know, he got like a 25-year sentence or something. For mortgage fraud. And he was in prison with Efraim, and he was writing Ephraim's memoir for him. And now it turned out that Efraim wasn't really interested in promoting the memoir to sell the book for its own sake. He wanted to come out with that book before the movie came out so that he could sue Warner Brothers for stealing his story. right? Now, Matt told me this later, and actually Matt wrote a book about his experience writing Efraim's memoir and the fallout. Because Efraim, of course, ended up screwing Matt out of all the money that he promised Matt for writing the book. Of course, Efraim would screw the author who's writing the book about how he screwed everyone else out of. So Matt told me that while he was writing Efraim's book, Efraim was telling him about all these. Efraim was very proud of like how he screwed over different people. Like he's like, oh yeah, and then I screwed over this guy in this way, because he's very creative. He was very sneaky in all the ways he did things. And he got away with a lot. And he's still getting away with it. So he's actually very talented at screwing people over. So Efraim was really proud of like how he screwed over various people. He's telling Matt all these stories about how he screwed over this guy and that guy and that guy. And Matt tells him, he's like, Efraim, you can't just keep on burning all your bridges, man. And Efraim looks at him and he's like, Matt, there's a lot of bridges out there. And Matt told me, and that's the moment I knew that I was going to get screwed too. And he did. Of course, Matt got screwed by Efraim. So anyway, Matt wrote a whole book called Dude, Where's My Hand Grenade? It's on Amazon. You could check it out. It's actually a pretty entertaining book about his experience writing Efraim's memoir and the whole fallout, and how Efraim tried to screw Warner Brothers, pretty much tried to defraud Warner Brothers in a whole bunch of different creative ways. And so Efraim was trying to get his book out before the movie came out, but it was not ready. Matt was not ready to with the book. And Efraim was like, yeah, but we need to get it out. We need to get it out. He's like, why don't you? Because he had known that Matt had written a novel that he had never published called Stranger Danger. And it was about like I think it was like about a pedophile or something. And he's like, why don't you take some of that book and just change, the names in the story of the story and just combine it with the memoir so you have enough material to publish the book. So literally half of Efraim's memoir, according to Matt, who is the author, was taken directly from his completely fictional novel about some pedophile, and that what became his book, Once a Gun Runner. Now, obviously, I read his book, and it's actually really funny. He like changes like the parts that are based at all on any true event. He completely changes everything around to make me look as bad as possible and him to look as good as possible. But I mean, I expected that. So it's a semi-entertaining book. The thing that I found most entertaining is that like right in the beginning of the book, he describes himself. He supposedly wrote this himself. I don't think he gives credit to Matt. But he wrote in the intro, he describes himself as being handsome by anyone's standards. Yeah, he just can't. He has no subtlety. So, and he also claims like that like prostitutes he slept with fell in love with him and refused his money. It's just hilarious. So yeah, he came out with this book, and then he claimed Warner Brothers stole his story. He sued them before the movie was released. So when the movie came out, it was very obvious that it had almost zero resemblance to his book. And so he had to change the lawsuit for suing them. And it was really creative. I have to give him this. He's very creative in these things. He sued them for falsely advertising that it was based on a true story because his book was the true story and it was completely different from the movie. So first he sued them for stealing his story, and then it turned out that they didn't steal the story, so he sued them for falsely advertising that it's true because his is the true story, even though his is as far from the true story as it could be, but according to the author of his book. So yeah, it's just hilarious. I think eventually, I don't think they ended up, if they did settle with him, it was for something very, very small. Because he had made a real enemy out of Matt, and Matt pretty much torpedoed his entire lawsuit by telling everyone that his story is obviously not anything to do with the truth, because he had taken it from his own novel that he was a complete work of fiction, and that was like most of his book. So yeah, so he failed in that.